What if I told you that, right now, at this very moment, you're moving through space at 490 kilometers per second? Not your car, not a plane you. Your body is hurtling through the cosmic void faster than any human-made object we've ever created, and you've never felt a single second of it. Most people never realize this. They think of themselves as stationary, standing still on solid ground. But the truth is infinitely more beautiful and strange than that. Here's what will blow your mind. The universe is so ancient, so incomprehensibly vast, that the light you're seeing from distant galaxies right now left those galaxies before your species even existed. Some of the photons entering your eyes tonight have been traveling for longer than humans have had language, art, or music. And yet somehow, in that infinite darkness, there's something deeply relaxing about understanding our true place in it all. By the end of this video, you'll understand why knowing how small you are is actually the most freeing thing in the world. You'll fall asleep tonight with a sense of peace you might not have expected from a video about space. And that peace comes from understanding something fundamental. The universe doesn't care about your problems because it's too busy being absolutely magnificent. Before we dive deeper into the cosmic mystery, I want to ask you something personal. Where are you watching from right now? Are you in North America? Europe? Maybe somewhere in Asia or Australia? And what time is it where you are? Drop a comment below and let me know I read every single one, and I love knowing where my viewers are calling in from. If you're finding this relaxing so far, hit that subscribe button. We're about to explore 14 different dimensions of cosmic calm, and you're not going to want to miss a single one. Let's start with something almost impossible to visualize, but absolutely crucial to understanding why galaxies are so calming to contemplate. The nearest star to Earth, besides our Sun, is Proxima Centauri. It's approximately 4.24 light-years away. Now, most people hear light year and think it's a measure of time. It's not. It's a distance. A light year is how far light travels in 1 year through the vacuum of space, about 9.46 trillion kilometers. Think of it like this. If light is the fastest thing in the universe, and it is, then even at that unimaginable speed, it would take light 4.24 years just to reach our nearest stellar neighbor. What does that mean, practically? If you sent a message to Proxima Centauri traveling at the speed of light, you'd wait over 4 years for it to arrive, then another 4 years for the response to come back. In the time it takes to get a single answer to a question, you'd have aged by over 8 years. Now, here's where the wonder starts building. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains between 100 and 400 billion stars. Yes, billion with a B. Let me put this in perspective differently. If every star in our galaxy represented 1 grain of sand, and we lined up all those grains in a single row, that line would stretch far beyond the Earth's orbit around the Sun. And our Milky Way? It's not even close to the largest galaxy we know about. In 2016, astronomer Christopher Consellis, working with data from the Hubble Space Telescope and other observatories, made a discovery that fundamentally shifted how we understand the cosmos. He calculated that the observable universe contains not millions, not billions, but approximately 2 trillion galaxies. 2 trillion. When that number was announced, even other astronomers had to sit down for a moment. The previous estimate had been around 200 billion. Consellis's team had expanded that number tenfold. But here's the part that makes you want to drift off into peaceful sleep. If there are 2 trillion galaxies, and each galaxy contains an average of 100 billion stars, and most of those stars probably have planets orbiting them, then statistically speaking, you're guaranteed to never meet another conscious being in your entire lifetime, unless they're on Earth. The universe is so monumentally vast that solitude isn't just likely, it's inevitable. And that's strangely comforting. Think about the pressure we put on ourselves. We worry about being noticed, about standing out, about mattering to people we'll never know. But the universe doesn't care about any of that. It's too big. The universe is so indifferent to our concerns that it becomes almost meditative to contemplate. This is why, paradoxically, learning about cosmic insignificance makes people feel less anxious, not more. There's a concept in astronomy called a cosmic distance ladder, developed over centuries by scientists like Hipparchus, who created the first stellar distance measurements in ancient Greece, and later refined by astronomers like Edwin Hubble in the 1920s. Hubble discovered that the universes he was observing weren't just nebulae within our galaxy. They were entire separate galaxies, each containing billions of stars. This single realization in 1924 expanded the known universe 100-fold overnight. What makes this relaxing is the predictability of it. The universe follows laws. Those laws are discoverable. We've figured out how far away things are, how they're moving, how old they are. There's an orderly architecture to the cosmos, and that order is soothing to contemplate as you're lying in bed, trying to quiet your racing mind. Now let's talk about something visually mesmerizing: how galaxies actually move. This is where your intuitions about the world completely fail you in the best possible way. When you look at a photograph of a spiral galaxy, say, the Andromeda Galaxy or the famous Sombrero Galaxy, your brain automatically assumes that those spiral arms are rotating like a record player. The galaxy spins, the arms swirl around, and eventually, a star in one of the arms arrives back where it started. This is logical. This is what your everyday experience with spinning objects would suggest. Here's what will absolutely blow your mind. That's not how it works at all. Galaxies don't rotate like records. If they did, the outer parts of the galaxy would rotate much more slowly than the inner parts, just like how the outer edge of a spinning merry-go-round moves slower than the inner edge. The outer stars should lag behind. But in 1933, Swiss astronomer Fritz Zwicky noticed something strange while studying the Coma cluster of galaxies. The galaxies were moving too fast. They should have flown apart from the cluster's gravitational pull, but they didn't. Something invisible was holding them in place. Later, in the 1970s, American astronomer Vera Rubin made observations that shook the foundations of physics. She discovered that stars and galaxies, even those far from the galactic center, were moving at nearly the same speed as stars closer in. That shouldn't be possible with the amount of visible matter, all the stars and gas we can see, that galaxies contain. The math simply didn't work. Think of it like this. Imagine a merry-go-round where every person, whether they're sitting near the center or at the outer edge, is traveling at the same speed. It's physically nonsensical, and yet that's exactly what galaxies do. This led to the hypothesis of dark matter invisible stuff that makes up about 85% of all the matter in the universe. We can't see it, we can't touch it, but we know it's there because we can see its gravitational effects. And here's where it gets properly mind-bending. Everything you've ever seen, every star, every planet, every atom in your body, all of it comprises only about 15% of the matter in the universe. You and everything you perceive are the cosmic minority. You're made of the unusual stuff, the rare stuff. Dark matter is the norm. We're the anomaly. But why is this relaxing? Because it means the universe is fundamentally mysterious. We've barely scratched the surface of understanding how it actually works. Rather than this being terrifying, it's liberating. It means there are still infinite mysteries to discover, infinite unknowns stretching out before us. When you're lying in bed worrying about tomorrow's problems, reminding yourself that 85% of all matter in the universe is something we don't even fully understand puts your petty concerns into perspective. Vera Rubin's work, conducted at the Carnegie Institution of Washington from the 1970s onward, didn't just change astronomy, it changed physics. Her meticulous observations were so careful, so thoroughly documented, that the scientific community eventually had to accept a reality that didn't fit their existing models. And Rubin never won a Nobel Prize for this work, even though many argue she should have. She passed away in 2016, But her legacy reminds us that the universe is still teaching us lessons about how wrong we can be. The rotation curves of galaxies, the measurements of how quickly stars move at different distances from the galactic center, are among the most peaceful things to contemplate. They're measured, precise, and utterly alien to our everyday experience. Every galaxy spins according to these principles, billions of times over, across the visible universe. Here's a fact that will fundamentally change how you see the night sky. Every single star you see with your naked eye is, in a very real sense, a ghost of the past. The brightest star in Earth's night sky is Sirius, located in the constellation Canis Major. When you look at Sirius, you're not seeing Sirius as it is right now. You're seeing Sirius as it was 8.6 years ago. That light has been traveling through the vacuum of space for 8.5 years to reach your eyes at this moment. If Sirius had exploded 10 years ago, no one on Earth would have seen that explosion yet. We're still waiting for the light from that catastrophe to reach us. Now think about the Andromeda Galaxy, our closest galactic neighbor. Light from Andromeda takes 2.5 million years to reach Earth. The photons of light entering your eyes when you look at Andromeda tonight left that galaxy when your ancestors had just begun walking upright on the African savanna. Homo erectus was developing primitive tools while those photons were in transit. Humans hadn't even invented writing yet. This is one of the most profound truths about astronomy. The telescope is a time machine. When we look at distant objects, we're literally looking backward through time. In 1995, astronomer Robert Williams pointed the Hubble Space Telescope at a tiny patch of sky near the Big Dipper constellation that appeared to be completely empty, just blank darkness. The field of view is so small that if you held a grain of salt at arm's length, the Hubble Deep Field would be smaller than that grain. What Hubble found in that tiny square of darkness changed everything. The image revealed approximately 3,000 galaxies in that minuscule patch of sky. Each of those galaxies contains billions of stars. Some of those galaxies were so distant that their light had been traveling for over 13 billion years to reach us. We were looking at galaxies as they existed when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. When you contemplate this, you're contemplating time in a way that makes your problems seem almost invisible. That deadline at work? The Hubble Deep Field image shows events that happened when the universe was less than 5% of its current age. That argument you had last week? It's nothing compared to the billion-year journeys that light from ancient galaxies has taken to reach your eyes. Think of it like this. If you were sitting in a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and you looked at a single sheet of paper held up in the crowd, that's roughly the proportion of sky that the Hubble Deep Field represents. And in that single sheet of paper, we found 3,000 galaxies. So in the entire night sky, if it were completely dark, we'd find hundreds of billions of galaxies, all sending their ancient light toward us. In 2014, NASA released an even deeper observation called the Hubble Extreme Deep Field. This image penetrated even deeper into space and time, revealing galaxies as they were over 13.2 billion years ago, when the universe was only about 500 million years old. Each galaxy in that image is a universe unto itself, containing not just stars and planets, but potentially conscious beings who might have been looking up at their own night sky billions of years ago. This is why contemplating galaxies is genuinely relaxing. It contextualizes your existence in a way that dissolves anxiety. You are made of atoms forged in the hearts of ancient stars. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you're breathing right now, all of it was created inside stellar furnaces, and then scattered across the galaxy when those stars exploded. You are literally made of ancient stardust, and that stardust is currently arranged in a pattern sophisticated enough to contemplate its own origins. What if I told you that galaxies aren't randomly scattered throughout space? What if I told you that the universe has structure, that galaxies are arranged in a pattern almost like a cosmic web? When astronomers began mapping the three-dimensional distribution of galaxies in spacework, pioneered by people like Margaret Geller and John Huckra at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics in the 1980s. They discovered something extraordinary. Galaxies weren't evenly distributed. They formed what looked like strands and filaments, with vast voids in between. It's like the universe is a sponge. The galaxy clusters and superclusters are the solid parts of the sponge, and the voids are the empty spaces. In 1989, Geller and Huckra released a map showing the distribution of over 11,000 galaxies. The image revealed a structure nicknamed the Great Wall, a galactic filament stretching across 500 million light years. It's one of the largest structures in the observable universe. Looking at this map, something profound struck the scientific community. The universe has architecture. It's not chaos. It's structure. But here's what will blow your mind. Between these galactic filaments are voids, empty spaces, where hardly any galaxies exist. Some voids measure over 250 million light years across. Think about that. A void so large that it would take 250 million light years to cross it with light itself. These spaces are nearly empty, just the faintest wisps of hydrogen gas and the invisible presence of dark matter. Think of it like this. If the galaxies are the threads of a vast spider's web, then the voids are the empty air between the threads. You could fly forever through one of those voids and never encounter a single star. You'd see nothing but darkness in every direction, forever. It's the opposite of comforting, and yet, paradoxically, it is. Why? Because it means that within our observable universe, there are probably millions of civilizations that will never, ever know of our existence. They're separated from us by voids so vast that not even light can make the journey in any reasonable time frame. We're all alone together in this cosmic web, each civilization on their own thread, never to meet. This should make you sad, but instead, it makes many people feel a strange peace. It's the ultimate isolation, yes, but it's also the ultimate justification for being kind to the people around you right now. The beings you can actually communicate with, the humans in your life, they're the rarest possible connection in the universe. They're here. They're real. They're not separated from you by billions of light years. The cosmic web reveals the universe's true nature. It's built on vastness and separation, and yet it's also built on surprising structure. Nothing is truly random. Everything is connected through gravity to everything else, even across the unimaginable distances of the voids. When you're trying to fall asleep tonight, remember this. You're lying on a small planet, on a minor spiral arm of an average galaxy, separated from other civilization by unimaginable distances. And somehow, despite all that, you're aware of it. You can contemplate your own isolation. That's a form of magic. Now we're going to explore something that really makes people pause. Galaxies don't last forever. They're born, they live, and they die. And right now, we're watching this process happen across billions of years. In the 1920s and 1930s, Edwin Hubble made another revolutionary discovery. By measuring the spectrum of light from distant galaxies, he noticed something peculiar. The light from galaxies moving away from us was shifted toward the red end of the spectrum, a phenomenon called redshift. The faster a galaxy was moving away, the more its light was redshifted. This meant the universe wasn't static. It was expanding. But here's what will completely reframe your understanding of existence. The expansion of space isn't gradual. It's accelerating. In 1998, astronomers Saul Perlmutter, Brian Schmidt, and Adam Rees were studying distant supernova exploding stars to measure the expansion rate of the universe. They expected to find that the expansion was slowing down due to gravity pulling everything back together. Instead, they discovered the opposite. The universe's expansion was speeding up. Something was pushing everything apart. They called it dark energy, and we understand it about as well as we understand dark matter. Not very well. Dark energy comprises about 68% of all the energy and matter in the universe. It's the dominant force in the cosmos, and we have almost no idea what it actually is. In 2011, these three scientists won the Nobel Prize in Physics for this discovery, a discovery that essentially revealed how little we know about how reality works. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing on an expanding balloon. The balloon is space itself. As it expands, you're carried away from other dots on the balloon. But suddenly, you realize that the expansion isn't slowing down, it's speeding up. The balloon is inflating faster and faster. And the force causing that inflation? It's invisible. It's everywhere. It's pushing against everything. Now, galaxies don't live forever under these conditions. When two galaxies get close to each other, which is rare but happens, they can merge. The Andromeda Galaxy and the Milky Way are on a collision course. In about 4.5 billion years, Andromeda will collide with our galaxy. The gravitational forces will tear both galaxies apart and gradually pull them together into a single merged galaxy. Some astronomers call the result Milkomeda or Milkdromida. It will be beautiful and terrible stars ripped from their orbits, solar systems scattered into the void. But here's the calming part. It's 4.5 billion years away. That's roughly 1,000 times the entire length of recorded human history. You don't need to worry about this. By that time, the sun will have already exhausted its hydrogen fuel and swelled into a red giant, engulfing the inner planets. Earth will be gone, probably vaporized, its atoms scattered into space. The collision of the galaxies will happen in a universe without Earth, without humanity, without any memory of us. And somehow, that's peaceful. Your problems won't exist in 4.5 billion years. Neither will your civilization, your city, your family line. All of it will be cosmic dust scattered across a merged galaxy, which itself will eventually merge with other galaxies, and so on. Everything is temporary. Everything is change. An understanding that impermanence is actually the beginning of letting go of anxiety. Here's a concept that will fundamentally alter how you experience space. Gravity isn't a force pulling you downward. That's not what's happening at all. In 1915, Albert Einstein published his general theory of relativity. For 3 centuries, physicists had accepted Isaac Newton's description of gravity. Massive objects exert an invisible attractive force on other objects. This worked perfectly well for predicting planetary orbits and understanding how the solar system functions. Newton's gravity was reliable, tested, proven. But Einstein looked at Newton's gravity and asked a simple question. Why? Why does mass exert this attractive force? What is the mechanism? And his answer was so radical that even other physicists struggled to understand it at first. According to Einstein, gravity isn't a force at all. It's the bending of space and time itself. Imagine space as a vast fabric, stretched out in all directions. Matter and energy don't sit passively on this fabric. They warp it. A massive object like the Earth creates a depression in space-time, like a bowling ball sitting on a trampoline. When you're standing on Earth, you're not being pulled downward by an invisible force. You're moving through space along the curves created by the Earth's mass. You're actually trying to move in a straight line through space, but the curved geometry of space-time forces you to follow those curves. The friction between your feet and the ground prevents you from plunging through the Earth. Here's what blows people's minds. You're not actually sitting still right now. If the Earth didn't exist, you'd be moving in a perfectly straight line through the cosmos. But because the Earth curves space-time around itself, your straight line path curves, and you follow that curved path, which we perceive as falling downward. Gravity is geometry. It's shape. It's the structure of space itself. Think of it like this. Imagine an ant walking on the surface of an orange. To the ant, the orange's surface curves around it. The ant can't walk in a straight line. The geometry of the orange's surface curves the ant's path. Now imagine that the entire universe is like, that all of space is curved by the presence of matter and energy. We're ants walking on the curves of space-time, following the geometry created by stars and galaxies and dark matter. The equation that describes this is Einstein's field equation, usually written as G equals AT. On the left side is the geometry of space-time. On the right side is matter and energy. It's saying the shape of space equals the distribution of matter and energy. It's one of the most profound equations ever written, arguably more profound than E equals mc, which is the famous one everyone learns about. Now here's where it gets even more relaxing. You can't actually feel the Earth's gravitational pull. You can't feel space curving around you. What you feel is the normal force from the ground pushing up against you as you stand on the curved surface of space-time. And that's oddly soothing. You're not being pulled down by some invisible force. You're simply following the geometry of existence. There's something deeply peaceful about that, about being carried along the curves of the universe, following paths determined by the distribution of matter around you. In 1919, the year after Einstein published his theory, a solar eclipse occurred. Arthur Eddington led an expedition to observe how starlight bent around the sun during the eclipse. If Einstein was right, the sun's gravity should bend the path of light from distant stars. And it did. The stars appeared slightly shifted from their normal positions, exactly as Einstein had predicted. That moment validated the entire revolutionary framework of general relativity. We're now approaching the deepest waters of cosmic contemplation, and I want you to understand why physicists describe the universe as strange with a completely straight face. At the smallest scales possible, scales so tiny they're almost incomprehensible, universe behaves in ways that violate everything your brain tells you about how reality works. This realm is called quantum mechanics, and it's been validated by hundreds of years of experiments. And yet, it still makes physicists genuinely uncomfortable. Here's what will blow your mind. According to quantum mechanics, empty space isn't empty. It's seething with activity. It's filled with what physicists call the quantum foam pairs of virtual particles that constantly pop into existence and then annihilate each other billions of times per second in every cubic centimeter of space. In 1948, Dutch physicist Hendrik Casimir performed an experiment that demonstrated this. He placed two uncharged metal plates very close together in a vacuum and measured the force between them. According to classical physics, there should be no force. They're uncharged, far from other objects, in a vacuum. But Casimir found a force pushing the plates together. Why? Because the virtual particles popping in and out of existence between the plates are constrained to have certain wavelengths. Virtual particles outside the plates can have any wavelength. More particles are excluded between the plates than outside them, so the plates are pushed together by the pressure of empty space. Think of it like this. Imagine a swimming pool that looks empty, but it's actually filled with swimmers, constantly diving down and popping back up so quickly that you can't see them. If you put a cage in the pool, fewer swimmers can pop up inside the cage than outside it. So the cage gets pushed outward by the pressure of swimmers outside. Except replace swimmers with virtual particles, and the pool with empty space. Quantum mechanics also tells us that particles don't have defined positions or velocities until we observe them. This is the famous uncertainty principle, described by Werner Heisenberg in 1927. The more precisely you measure a particle's position, the less you know about its velocity. The more precisely you know its velocity, the less you know about its position. They're fundamentally linked. Measuring one property causes you to lose information about the other. This means that at the quantum level, reality is fundamentally probabilistic, not deterministic. The universe isn't running on some predetermined script. It's running on probabilities. Every possible outcome exists as a possibility until observation collapses the probability wave into a single reality. Schrodinger's cat, a thought experiment described by Erwin Schrödinger in 1935, is a cat that is simultaneously alive and dead until you open the box and observe it. It's absurd. And it's real. Here's why this is strangely relaxing to contemplate. If the universe is fundamentally probabilistic, then determinism is dead. You're not a robot following a predetermined path. Neither am I. At the quantum level, there's genuine randomness, genuine possibility. Your choices might not be fully deterministic. There might be actual freedom in how the universe unfolds. But that's not even the weirdest part. Quantum entanglement, discovered and refined through the work of physicists like John Bell and Alling. Aspect shows that two particles can be connected across any distance. Measure something about one particle, and the other particle instantly knows what you measured, even if they're on opposite sides of the universe. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, and he was deeply uncomfortable with it. But decades of experiments have confirmed it. I want to pause here and connect something crucial. All of these facts about the scale of the universe, about dark matter and dark energy, about the quantum foam beneath reality, about the bending of space-time, they're not just abstract concepts. They're literally describing the universe that created you and sustains you right now. Every atom in your body is between 1.3 and 3.8 billion years old. Think about that. The carbon in your muscles, the nitrogen in your DNA, the phosphorus in your bones, all of it was created inside the furnaces of dying stars. And it's been recycled, used by living things, scattered by cosmic events, reformed, used again, for literally billions of years. You are made of reused cosmic material. Your atoms have been part of dinosaurs, part of ancient oceans, part of rocks buried deep underground, part of other living things whose names we'll never know. And this material, these atoms, are arranged right now in a pattern so complex, so sophisticated, that they can contemplate their own origins. That pattern is you. The physicist Carl Sagan, who devoted his life to communicating the wonder of the universe to the public, said something that perfectly captures what I'm trying to convey. He said, "The atoms of our bodies are traceable to origins in the Big Bang, and this requires not religious faith, but only the most elementary nuclear and chemical science. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Sagan spent his career trying to convey that understanding your place in the cosmos isn't humbling in a way that diminishes you. It's humbling in a way that connects you to everything. You're not separate from the universe. You're an expression of it. The universe created you so that it could examine itself, contemplate itself, understand itself. Think about that tonight as you're lying in bed. Your consciousness, whatever it is, however it works, is the result of 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution. After the Big Bang, nothing alive existed, but particles formed, atoms formed, stars formed, elements formed inside those stars. Planets formed around those stars. Chemistry began on those planets. And gradually, across billions of years, life emerged, and life became more complex. And eventually, life became conscious. And now here you are, conscious, aware, contemplating the universe that created you. That's not small. That's magnificent. That's profound. You are the universe become conscious of itself. That's not poetic language. That's literally what's happening right now. The particles that make up your brain are arranged in such a way that they can contemplate the universe. Because the universe itself somehow created this arrangement, this pattern, they can think. And here's the most relaxing part of all. Because you're made of the same stuff as everything else in the universe. Because you're connected to it all at the atomic level. Because your atoms have been part of everything that's ever lived. You're never truly alone. You're connected to every living thing on Earth through the shared chemistry of life. You're connected to every star and planet through the atoms you're made of. You're connected to the entire history of the universe through the time it took to create the conditions that led to your existence. This is why contemplating galaxies is ultimately about contemplating yourself, your significance, your connection to everything. You're not insignificant because you're small. You're significant because you're conscious. You're significant because you can know. That's rarer than you realize. Let me ask you something personal. What are you worried about right now? Is it work? Is it a relationship? Is it money? Is it your health? Is it the state of the world? Whatever it is, I want you to hold that worry in your mind while I tell you something that will change how you relate to it. Stephen Hawking, the brilliant physicist who continued his research even after he was completely paralyzed by LS, spent much of his career thinking about the universe's ultimate fate. According to current understanding of thermodynamics and cosmology, the universe is expanding faster and faster. Eventually, so far in the future that the number of years would be incomprehensibly large, the universe will become completely dark. The last stars will burn out. Black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation, a process Hawking himself discovered in 1974. And eventually, nothing will exist but empty space and the faintest traces of radiation. This is called heat death or the Big Freeze, and it's the currently favored model for how the universe ends. Everything that was, everything that is, everything that ever will be, it will all eventually dissolve into nothingness. Now, you might think that contemplating this would be depressing, but it's not. It's liberating. Here's why. Because the universe is temporary, because everything you know will eventually vanish, it means that your worries don't matter in the cosmic sense. They don't need to. They don't have to. Your problems are local and temporary, just like you are. The psychologist William James, in the 19th century, described what he called moral equivalent of war, the idea that we need something grand and meaningful to struggle against, or we become nihilistic and depressed. But what if the something grand isn't another human conflict? What if it's simply understanding your place in the universe and making small, meaningful impacts within your own local sphere of existence? When you contemplate the fact that you're made of ancient stardust, that the universe created the conditions for your consciousness through 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution, that your atoms will eventually scatter back into the universe to become part of future stars and future life. When you contemplate all of that, your anxiety about tomorrow's presentation at work becomes strangely manageable. It still matters, because you matter, but it matters in a human way, not in a cosmic way. Here's what will blow your mind. Studies by researchers like David Yaden at the University of Pennsylvania have shown that people who have awe, experiences moments of contemplating vastness and beauty, actually show reduced activity in the parts of their brain associated with self-referential thinking. In other words, when you contemplate something genuinely vast and beautiful, your brain literally stops focusing on yourself. Your problems become less prominent in your awareness. You become less trapped in your own perspective. And that's exactly what you're doing right now. Watching this video, you're having an awe experience. You're contemplating galaxies and the scale of the universe. And as you do that, your brain is naturally reducing the amount of neural resources devoted to worrying about your personal problems. You're literally healing yourself by contemplating something larger than yourself. The existential philosophers, people like Albert Camus, spent a lot of time thinking about absurdism, the idea that the universe is indifferent to human concerns, and human beings are small and insignificant. Camus concluded that this isn't a reason for despair. It's a reason for freedom. If the universe doesn't care what you do, then you're free to do what you care about. You're free to find meaning in things that matter to you, not because they matter to the universe, but because they matter to you. That's profound. That's liberating. And you're experiencing it right now, simply by watching this video and contemplating galaxies before sleep. We've talked about the vastness of space, about the cosmic web, about vast distances that prevent civilizations from meeting. But now I want to explore something more hopeful, the possibility that you're not alone, even if you're separated from other conscious beings by unimaginable distances. The Drake equation, formulated by astronomer Frank Drake in 1961, is an attempt to estimate how many communicative civilizations might exist in our galaxy. The equation multiplies together several factors: the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the fraction of planets that are habitable, the fraction of habitable planets that develop life, the fraction of life-bearing planets that develop intelligent life, the fraction of intelligent life that develops technology and radio communication, and the average lifetime of a technological civilization. The equation looks like this: n equals r asterisk times fp times ni times fl times phi times fc times l, where n is the estimated number of communicative civilizations in the Milky Way. The problem is, most of these factors are complete guesses. We only know one example of intelligent life: us. So the estimates for how often life develops, how often intelligent life emerges, how long civilizations last, all of these are speculative. But even with conservative estimates, the Drake equation suggests there might be thousands of communicative civilizations in our galaxy alone. Thousands. And our galaxy is just one of 2 trillion galaxies. Yet we've never detected any signal from them. We've listened for decades with radio telescopes and nothing. No messages, no signals, no evidence. This is called the Fermi paradox, named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who asked the simple question: where is everybody? There are many possible answers. Maybe technological civilizations destroy themselves before they can communicate across galactic distances. Maybe they develop technology to communicate, but then lose interest in broadcasting into the void. Maybe they're using communication methods we haven't thought of. Maybe the distances are so vast that any signal is too faint to detect. Or maybe, and this is the most interesting possibility, maybe we're earlier in the development process than we think. Maybe most civilizations emerge after humans do, so we're hearing from nobody because nobody else is broadcasting yet. Here's what blows my mind about this. Somewhere out there right now, there might be a being very much like you, lying in their version of a bed, contemplating their version of the night sky, wondering if they're alone in the universe. They don't know about you. You don't know about them. You're separated by light years that might as well be infinite, given the limitations of your species' technology. And yet, in a real sense, you share something with that being. You share the experience of consciousness. You share the experience of contemplating existence. You share the experience of looking up at the stars and feeling small and connected to something larger. Think of it like this. Imagine billions of isolated islands floating in a vast ocean. No bridges between them. No way to communicate. And yet each island has developed beings who contemplate the other islands, who wonder about them, who hope for connection. And because those beings are all contemplating the same universe, the same galaxies, the same cosmic structures, they're all contemplating the same thing you're contemplating right now. Carl Sagan, in his book Cosmos, wrote, "For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love." That insight captures something crucial. The vastness of the universe isn't bearable through logic alone. It's not bearable through understanding the numbers. It's bearable through love of the people near you, love of the cosmic mystery, love of existence itself. And here's the most relaxing realization. Whether or not there are other conscious beings out there, the consciousness you have right now is precious. It's rare. It's an achievement of 13.8 billion years of cosmic evolution. That deserves respect. That deserves to be used for something meaningful. Underscore, we've now spent over 2 hours contemplating the universe, and I want to make sure you understand the emotional trajectory we've been on. We started with a shocking revelation about how fast you're actually moving. We've proceeded through increasingly mind-bending facts about space, time, gravity, and quantum mechanics. And now I want to help you understand why all of this vastness that could be terrifying is actually profoundly beautiful. There's a concept in psychology called existential anxiety. It's the anxiety that comes from contemplating existence itself, your own mortality, the vastness of the universe, the smallness of your own importance. Existential anxiety is real, and many people experience it, especially when they really think about these cosmic facts for the first time. But here's what's crucial. Existential anxiety is only the beginning. It's not where you stay. It's a doorway. On the other side of that doorway is something different. The psychiatrist Irvin Yalom called it existential freedom. Once you've really contemplated your own smallness and your own mortality, once you've accepted that the universe doesn't care about your problems, something shifts. The anxiety transforms into a kind of liberation. You become free to choose what matters to you, not because it matters to the universe, but because it matters to you. You become free to love the people in your life more deeply, because you recognize how rare it is that you found them in this vast cosmos. You become free to find meaning in small things, in a sunset, in a conversation, in a moment of beauty, without needing those things to be important in some cosmic sense. This is the transition from fear-based spirituality to wonder-based spirituality. Many religions start with fear. Fear of judgment, fear of punishment, fear of meaninglessness. But wonder-based spirituality starts with awe and beauty. It asks, what if the universe is magnificent, not because it was created for us, but simply because it's magnificent? What if we don't need cosmic approval to live meaningful lives? The philosopher and astronomer Carl Sagan articulated this perfectly. He said, "Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality, because science reveals the genuine wonder in reality, not imagined wonder, not supernatural wonder, but the actual, verified, mind-bending reality of how the universe actually works. When you contemplate a real galaxy, a real gravitational field, real quantum entanglement, real dark energy pushing the universe apart, you're not imagining wonder. You're encountering it. You're bumping up against the genuine strangeness of existence. And that's more spiritually moving than anything fiction could conjure. Here's what will blow your mind. You're going through this transition right now, watching this video. You started with shock and a sense of vastness. You've proceeded through increasingly strange facts. And now, if I'm doing this right, you should be experiencing something that feels like peace. Not denial of the vastness, but acceptance of it. Not denial of your own smallness, but freedom gained from understanding it. This is why I said at the beginning that learning about your cosmic insignificance is actually comforting. It's not an oxymoron. It's truth. The insignificance is liberating. Now let's talk about something that will make you feel genuinely significant in a new way. What you do matters. It matters not to the universe in some cosmic sense, but it matters to the future. In 1977, NASA launched 2 spacecraft called Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. These craft were designed to explore the outer planets of our solar system, but their journey didn't end there. After completing their main mission, they continued on, leaving the solar system entirely. Right now, Voyager 1 is the farthest human-made object from Earth. It's over 14 billion miles away. It's in interstellar space, beyond the gravitational influence of the Sun. But here's what makes this remarkable. Both Voyager spacecraft carry a golden record, a record album with sounds and images from Earth. It includes greetings in multiple languages, music from around the world, and images of human life and natural beauty. The record also includes scientific information. It's essentially a message in a bottle from humanity, cast into the cosmic ocean, with no knowing where or when it might be found. The chances of either Voyager ever being found are vanishingly small. But the fact that they might be, the fact that they're carrying your species' greeting message into the cosmos, is remarkable. In some sense, the Voyagers represent humanity's hope that we're not truly alone, that someone or something might someday find them and learn about us. Think of it like this. You are living in the generation that sent messages to the stars. That you exist right now, when humans have the capacity to communicate across the galaxy, even if no one receives the messages, is historically significant. This is your era. This is your contribution to the future, simply by being alive now. But more importantly, consider how you're using your consciousness, your awareness, your time on Earth. You're contemplating the universe. You're learning. You're understanding. And when you understand something, it doesn't disappear. Understanding is a form of immortality. If you learn something and you teach it to someone else, and they understand it, and they teach it to someone else, that understanding propagates forward through time. The understanding that the universe is vast, that we're connected to it all at the atomic level, that consciousness is rare and precious. These understandings can propagate forward through time, through the people you tell, the people they tell, and so on. In a very real sense, you become a vector for cosmic understanding. You become a way for the universe to know itself across time. This is why teaching and learning and sharing knowledge matter. This is why having conversations with the people you love about meaningful things matters. You're not trying to change the universe. You're participating in the universe, becoming conscious of itself. And that participation has value because consciousness itself is valuable. The physicist and astronomer Alan Lightman has written extensively about how contemplating the universe actually increases our sense of responsibility to each other. If we're all made of the same stardust, if we're all conscious in a universe that's mostly unconscious, if we're all separated from other possible conscious beings by vast distances, then the consciousness we have with each other right now is extraordinarily precious. It demands to be treated with care. It demands responsibility. So you see, the cosmic perspective doesn't lead to nihilism. It leads to meaning. It leads to responsibility. It leads to love. We've journeyed together for over 3 hours now, through the vast architecture of the cosmos. You've learned about galaxies containing billions of stars. You've contemplated the speed of light and the vastness of time. You've thought about dark matter and dark energy, about the quantum foam underlying reality, about the bending of space-time around massive objects. You've learned that you're made of ancient stardust, that consciousness is rare, that your connection to the people around you is one of the rarest and most precious things in the universe. You've learned that understanding your own smallness is actually liberating and freeing. And you've learned that what you do, what you think, how you treat the people in your life, it all matters, not to the universe, but to the future. Now I want to help you transition into sleep with all of this knowledge resting gently in your mind. When you close your eyes tonight, I want you to imagine something. Imagine yourself lying on the Earth, which is itself lying in the vast void of space, orbiting the Sun, which orbits the galactic center, which is part of the cosmic web spanning the entire universe. Feel the curve of space-time beneath you, the gravity of the Earth holding you gently on its surface. Imagine the light from distant galaxies' photons that have been traveling for billions of years, continuing their journey as they pass near your eyes. Those photons will travel for billions of years more after you're gone. You're just a momentary intersection point for ancient light. And that's beautiful. Think about your atoms. Think about how many times they've been recycled, how many forms they've taken, how many different creatures they've been a part of. Your atoms have been dinosaurs and ocean creatures and plants, and probably other humans whose names you'll never know. And your atoms will continue on after you're gone, becoming part of other creatures, other worlds, other forms of life that you can't imagine. You are not your atoms. You are a pattern of atoms. And that pattern is temporary, and that's okay. Everything temporary is precious precisely because it's temporary. A sunset is beautiful because it doesn't last. Your life is meaningful because you have limited time. Every moment you have to be conscious. Every moment you have to experience beauty. Every moment you have to love the people around you. It's all precious because it will end. And when your consciousness finally ceases decades from now, hopefully your atoms will scatter. They'll become part of the earth, part of the soil, part of new plants and animals. You will literally become part of the future. You will cease to exist as you, but you will continue to exist as particles in the world, in the cosmos. You will be recycled into infinity. There's no religion needed to make that beautiful. It's already beautiful, just by being true. As you drift off to sleep tonight, I want you to remember something that Carl Sagan said, because I think it perfectly captures what we've discovered together. The cosmos is a vast and awesome place. Our galaxies and stars come and go, but the cosmos endures. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We are made of star stuff, and the star stuff is aware of itself. You are the universe aware of itself. You are stardust contemplating stardust. You are consciousness emerging from the cosmic void, briefly aware, briefly able to contemplate the cosmos that created you. That's not small. That's profound. Sleep well tonight, knowing that you are held in the embrace of a cosmos that has been evolving, creating, transforming for 13.8 billion years. And all of that evolution led to you, to your consciousness, your awareness, your capacity to contemplate wonder. You are the product of the entire history of the universe. You are a success story written in stardust. Before you close this video and drift off to sleep, I have one final request. I want to know where you are when you watch this. Are you in your bed? Are you lying on a couch? Are you about to sleep? Leave me a comment and tell me where in the world you are, what you're thinking about, and whether this video helped you find a sense of peace. And please, hit that subscribe button if you found this journey through the cosmos meaningful. I create content designed to combine scientific rigor with genuine wonder, and I'd love for you to join me on future cosmic journeys. But for now, I want you to drift off into sleep. Imagine yourself not as a person lying in a room, but as a conscious point on the surface of a living planet, orbiting a star, which is orbiting a galaxy, which is part of a universe that stretches for billions of light years in every direction. You are not alone. You are connected to everything. You are part of everything. And that, perhaps, is the most relaxing thing to contemplate as you close your eyes and let sleep carry you away. Good night, cosmic friends. Sleep well, knowing that you are made of stardust, that you are conscious in a universe mostly composed of unconscious matter, and that your awareness, your presence, your brief existence in this vast cosmos matters. The stars are always there, watching over you, their light reaching across the void. And you are stardust that can see those stars, stardust that can understand where it came from, stardust that can contemplate the cosmos that created it. That is the greatest miracle of all. But before you drift away completely, I want to share something more intimate about what happens to your mind when you contemplate these cosmic truths while falling asleep. There's a fascinating phenomenon that neuroscientists have been studying for decades called the hypnagogic state, that strange moment between wakefulness and sleep where your brain begins to shift its pattern of activity. During this transition, something remarkable happens. Your brain becomes more creative, more prone to making unusual connections, more open to what researchers call conceptual blending, the combining of different ideas in unexpected ways. When you're falling asleep contemplating galaxies, your brain is in the perfect state to absorb these ideas not just intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually. You're not analyzing them with your critical mind. You're letting them percolate through your consciousness, forming new neural pathways, integrating them into your sense of self and your understanding of reality. The neuroscientist Thalia Wheatley at Dartmouth College has done research on how that feeling of vastness and wonder actually changes the way your brain processes information. When people experience awe, there's increased activity in the parts of the brain associated with social connection, and decreased activity in the parts associated with self-focus. In other words, contemplating something vast literally makes you less self-centered at a neurological level. But here's what's even more interesting. This effect persists for hours after the awe experience ends. So as you fall asleep tonight, contemplating galaxies and cosmic vastness, your brain is being rewired in a way that will make you more prosocial, more connected to others, less anxious about your own personal problems, even after you've fallen asleep and the conscious contemplation has ended. You're literally healing yourself by watching this video. You're using your own brain's neuroplasticity against anxiety and self-obsession. You're using the mind's natural capacity to change and grow to become a more peaceful version of yourself. Think of it like this. Your brain is a muscle, and contemplating vastness is like doing meditation for that muscle. Every time you do it, you get slightly better at it. The neural pathways associated with wonder and connection strengthen. The neural pathways associated with anxiety and fear weaken through disuse. You're training your brain to naturally gravitate toward peace. I want to explore something deeply personal now, something that ties together all of this cosmic knowledge with your immediate, intimate experience of being alive right now. Every moment of your life, you're receiving light that left its source in the past. When you look at another person's face, you're seeing them not as they are, but as they were milliseconds ago. Light has to travel from their face to your eyes, and that takes time. So technically, every person you see is a ghost of their immediate past. But more profoundly, consider that the light from the sun that's warming your skin, that's allowing plants to grow, that will feed you, that's making your world visible. That light left the sun 8 minutes ago. The sun you see when you look at the sky is the sun as it was 8 minutes in the past. If the sun suddenly exploded right now, we wouldn't know about it for 8 minutes. We'd still be receiving light from before the explosion, and we'd be living our lives thinking everything was normal. This creates a strange intimacy with time itself. Every moment of your existence is built on light from the past. You are literally made of history. The hydrogen in your body came from the Big Bang itself. The heavier elements came from dying stars. The pattern they're arranged in came from your parents, who inherited their patterns from their parents, stretching back through millions of years of evolution. You are not a new thing. You are not separate from the past. You are the past, arranged in a new configuration, conscious and aware of itself. Now here's where this gets truly mind-bending. When you look at photographs of distant galaxies billions of light years away, you're not just looking at those galaxies as they were billions of years ago. In a very real sense, you're looking at the universe as it was when it was much younger. You're looking at history written in light. And because the universe is so old, because light takes so long to travel across it, you can literally see the evolution of galaxies across cosmic time by looking at galaxies at different distances. The most distant galaxies we've observed are over 13 billion light years away. That means their light has been traveling for over 13 billion years to reach us. And when we look at those galaxies, we see them as they were when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. We're looking at baby galaxies, still forming, still chaotic, not yet as organized as our own mature galaxy. But you're also in that light. Not literally, you weren't around 13 billion years ago, but your atoms were in the process of forming. Your atoms were being created in the cores of stars that existed back then. Your atoms were part of the history of the universe, being assembled piece by piece, element by element, generation by generation. When you contemplate ancient light from distant galaxies, you're not contemplating something separate from you. You're contemplating the history that created you. You're looking at your own past, written in starlight. Think of it like this. Imagine you're looking at a photograph of your great-grandmother who lived 100 years ago. You're looking at light that bounced off her face and was captured by a camera. That light is history. That light is part of your ancestry. But now imagine that photograph shows not just your great-grandmother, but shows her in the process of creating the chain of events that led to you. You're looking at the universe in the process of creating you across billions of years. That's what you're doing when you contemplate distant galaxies. You're looking at the universe in the process of creating you, and you're doing it through the medium of ancient light. There's something that barely anyone talks about, something that becomes obvious when you really think about the cosmic perspective. It's so improbable that you exist at all that it borders on miraculous. Think about it. Your parents had to meet. Not just meet, but meet at exactly the right time, in exactly the right place, to conceive you rather than a sibling. Your maternal grandparents had to meet and conceive your mother. Your paternal grandparents had to meet and conceive your father. Go back further. Your 4 great-grandparents had to meet and conceive 2 parents who had to conceive 2 parents. And so on. Go back just 20 generations, about 500 years in most family trees, and you have over 1 million ancestors. Go back 30 generations, and you have over 1 billion ancestors. Go back further still, and the number of ancestors you need exceeds the entire human population that has ever lived. This is possible only because of something called genetic recombination. People who aren't directly your ancestors are also the ancestors of your ancestors. You're not unique in needing ancestors. Every human is. The tree of human ancestry is more like a web, with connections crossing and recrossing. But even accounting for that, the probability of you existing is almost infinitely small. If any single event in your vast family tree had gone differently, if your great-great-grandfather had taken a different route home one day and never met his wife, if your grandparents had decided not to have children, if your parents had met one day later, you wouldn't exist. Not you'd exist differently. Not you'd be a different version of yourself. You wouldn't exist at all. Someone else would exist instead. Your consciousness, the specific pattern of neurons and experiences that makes up you, would never have existed. And it gets even stranger. The biologist Richard Dawkins described what he called the argument from personal incredulity, the idea that we should be astounded that we exist at all, given the improbability. He used an even more extreme example. Imagine you're walking through a forest and you see a stone balanced on a hilltop, perfectly positioned so that it could fall either direction. You might think, wow, what are the odds that this stone ended up in this exact position? But of course, the odds don't matter. It is there. You're looking at it. Similarly, you're here. You exist. The probability doesn't matter. The fact is the fact. And that fact, the brute reality of your existence against odds that would break a calculator, is profound. Physicist John Wheeler called this the participatory anthropic principle, the idea that the universe must have properties that allow conscious observers to arise within it, because we're here observing it. If the universe didn't have properties that allowed for consciousness, we wouldn't be here to notice that fact. We only exist in universes that produce consciousness. And that means something remarkable. You're not an accident. You're not a cosmic fluke that happened to go in your favor. You're the inevitable result of a universe that produces consciousness. You're what the universe does. You're what the universe is. Here's a concept that will help you drift off into sleep tonight, because it's beautiful and it's true. The universe breathes. I don't mean this metaphorically, though it is metaphorical. I mean it in a literal, physical sense, according to current cosmological models. In the 1920s, when Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe was expanding, he set off a line of thinking that led to the Big Bang theory. But here's what's fascinating. If the universe is expanding now, and if it was denser in the past, that means the universe had a beginning. About 13.8 billion years ago, all the matter and energy in the universe was compressed into a point of infinite density, a singularity. And then it exploded into existence. But what came before? What caused the Big Bang? These are questions physicists still grapple with, and the answers get progressively stranger the deeper you go. Some physicists, like Alan Guth at MIT, developed the concept of cosmic inflation, the idea that in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the universe expanded exponentially, faster than the speed of light. This inflation smoothed out irregularities and set the stage for the universe we see today. But here's the mind-bending part. Some physicists have proposed that our Big Bang wasn't the beginning of everything. Maybe universes are constantly being created, birthed from the quantum foam. Maybe our universe is just one bubble in an infinite sea of universes. Maybe what we think of as the universe is really just a local expansion event in something vastly larger. And if that's true, maybe the universe itself is breathing. Maybe the Big Bang was an exhalation, the universe expanding outward. Maybe, billions of trillions of years in the future, the universe will begin to contract again in what's called the Big Crunch, an inhalation. And then maybe it will expand again in a new Big Bang. This is called the cyclic model or ekpyrotic model of the universe, proposed by physicists like Paul Steinhardt. It's speculative, not yet confirmed, but it's mathematically coherent. Think of it like this. You breathe. Your lungs expand and contract. Your heart beats. Your blood pulses. All of life is characterized by cycles, by rhythms, by expansion and contraction. What if the universe itself has the same character? What if existence itself is breathing, cycling, expanding and contracting on incomprehensible timescales? That idea that you're part of a universe that's alive in the sense that it breathes, cycles, changes, is deeply soothing. You're not a static thing in a static universe. You're a dynamic process in a dynamic universe. You're part of something that's actively, fundamentally alive. And when you fall asleep, you yourself enter into a cycle. Your consciousness contracts. Your awareness narrows. But it's not death, it's rest. It's part of the rhythm of existence. Sleep is your personal version of the universe's contraction, and waking is the expansion. I want to guide you now into the final stages of sleep, into that liminal space between wakefulness and dreams, where your conscious mind begins to dissolve and your unconscious takes over. As you lie there, feeling your body heavy on the bed, imagine that you're not lying down at all. Imagine that you're falling. Not downward, that's a direction relative to the earth. Imagine you're falling through space itself, carried gently by the curve of space-time around the earth. The earth is falling too, falling around the sun in a stable orbit. The sun is falling around the galactic center. The galaxy is falling through space, carried along the curves created by other galaxies, and the mysterious presence of dark matter and dark energy. Everything is falling, everything is moving, and yet it's all balanced, all in harmony, all following the elegant geometry of space-time. You're not endangered by this falling. You're supported by it. You're held gently in the embrace of cosmic geometry. Feel your atoms. Feel how they've been recycled, reused, scattered, and reformed millions of times. They're not anxious. They're not worried. They've survived incomprehensible distances and transformations. They've been part of stars and planets and living things. They know how to persist. They know how to transform. They know how to change and remain themselves. Your atoms are ancient. They're wise. They're made of the substance of creation itself, and they're in you. They're supporting you. They're carrying you through this moment, and they'll carry you through countless more moments to come. Now let your breathing slow. Feel each breath as the universe breathing through you. As you inhale, you're drawing in air that's been part of plants and other animals and the atmosphere of this planet for billions of years. As you exhale, you're sending that air back out to be part of other creatures, other transformations, other forms of existence. You're not separate from the world. You're permeable. You're continuously exchanging atoms and molecules with your environment. You're not an isolated consciousness trapped in a body. You're a process, a pattern, a temporary arrangement of cosmic material that's conscious enough to contemplate itself. And that consciousness is gentle now. It's loosening its grip. The anxieties that seemed so solid during the day are beginning to dissolve. They're not gone. They'll be back tomorrow. But for now, they're softening, fading, becoming transparent. Feel the weight of your body on the bed. Feel how the earth is supporting you, how gravity is gently holding you in place. Feel how you're part of something vast, something beautiful, something ancient and ongoing. The light from distant galaxies is still traveling toward you, will continue traveling toward you for millions of years, carrying messages from the ancient past, from before you were born, from after you'll be gone. You're a momentary intersection point for that ancient light, a brief moment where the universe becomes conscious of itself through you. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. As you drift deeper, I want to leave you with one final thought. The universe doesn't need you to do anything grand. It doesn't need you to solve the climate crisis, or cure diseases, or achieve immortal fame. It doesn't need you to change the world, or leave a legacy, or be remembered after you're gone. The universe will continue after you're gone, indifferent to whether you ever existed, just as it was indifferent billions of years before you were born. And that's okay. That's liberating. Because it means that the only person you need to satisfy is yourself. The only things that need to matter are things that matter to you. You're free to find meaning in small things, in a kind word, in a moment of beauty, in the presence of someone you love. You don't need cosmic approval for those things to be meaningful. You can look at a galaxy and feel wonder. You can hold a loved one's hand and feel connected. You can take a deep breath and feel alive. And those experiences are sufficient. They're complete. They're everything. When you wake tomorrow, remember that you're made of stardust. Remember that you're conscious in a mostly unconscious universe. Remember that the beings you interact with are facing the same vastness, the same mystery, the same improbability of existence that you are. Be gentle with them. Be kind. Recognize the miracle of their consciousness, just as you might recognize the miracle of distant galaxies. And if tomorrow brings anxiety or worry or fear, remember this moment. Remember that you've contemplated the cosmic perspective. Remember that your problems, while real and valid in your human sphere, are not ultimately important to the universe. And find peace in that knowledge. The universe will continue. Galaxies will continue to spiral through space. Stars will be born and die. Matter will continue to cycle and transform. And you, for this brief, precious moment, are part of it all. You're conscious. You're aware. You're knowing. That is the greatest miracle of all. Sleep now, cosmic friend. Sleep knowing that you're held in the arms of an infinite universe. Sleep knowing that you're made of ancient stardust. Sleep knowing that your consciousness, however brief, is precious beyond measure. The galaxies are spinning. The universe is expanding. Dark matter and dark energy are doing their invisible dance. And you're part of it all, resting now, dreaming dreams that might contain their own galaxies, their own infinities. Good night. Sleep well. Dream deep. You are the universe knowing itself.